This is Mother Medina for Peter, Seventh-day Adventist. Please let us start with a word of prayer. Loving Father, please be with us as we enter into your word. Help us to speak the truth and nothing but the truth. Through Christ our Savior we pray. Amen. Well, today we are having a study, and this study is which should we say, a spin-off from the 10 Bible teachings evangelicals got wrong. But the name of our study today is about the Antichrist. The question we are asking, is this Antichrist a man that comes at the end of time in the near future? Who is the Antichrist? This is our study. But what we are asking is the Antichrist a man, a single human individual that comes only at the end of time in the near future? This is the question we are asking. And why? Because this is exactly what evangelicals teach. Evangelicals and Roman Catholics teach that the Antichrist is a man that comes only at the end of time in the near future. That's what they teach us. But we want to show you, my dear people, that this teaching is wrong. The Bible does not tell us that the Antichrist comes at the end of time in the near future. In fact, if we search and see what the Bible teaches us, we find that the Antichrist has been here with us for quite a long, long while. And that the Antichrist continues way down until the end of the second coming of Jesus Christ. Yes, my dear people, the whole Antichrist and what Antichrist is all about has been here with us for quite a long while. This is what we want to show you from the Bible. Now, if we look at 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and we read verse 3 and verse 4, this is what we are told. I quote, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalted himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he, as God, sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God." End of quote. What does this tell us? This is the major prophecy we have here of an Antichrist to come. Someone who sits in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. In other words, this is the word Antichrist here identifies someone who is in place of Christ, a false Christ. The word anti doesn't mean against in the Greek, in the Bible. It means in place of. So when you say Antichrist, you mean a Christ in place of the true Christ. Yes, my dear people. And we are told that he sits in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. He is called the man of sin, the son of perdition. Yes, my dear people. But since Paul tells us that Jesus Christ will not come except there come first a falling away, that is a falling away from the faith of Jesus Christ, and the Antichrist comes. So we know that the Antichrist comes as a result of a falling away from the truth. In 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 6 and verse 7 tells us that something called the mystery of iniquity that would create the Antichrist was already existent in Paul's time. And which is when he wrote 2 Thessalonians, that was about 55 years after Christ's birth, when he wrote 2 Thessalonians. And here we are being told that the mystery of iniquity was already working, existing in Paul's time, seeking to develop the Antichrist. Yes, my dear people, let's look at this in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 6 and verse 7. We are told, I quote, "And now you know what withholdeth, that he might be revealed in his time. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way." End of quote. Did you see that? So we are told the mystery of iniquity already work. To do what? To create the Antichrist. And only he, that is God, who let it, will let it until he, the Antichrist, be taken out of the way. So God allows the Antichrist to develop as a result of the mystery of iniquity And we're told the Antichrist develops until he's taken out of the way by God. Yes, my dear people. So the point is there, even in Paul's time when he wrote 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, which was around 55 years after Christ's birth, the mystery of iniquity was already working to create the Antichrist. And if you want to know what is the mystery of iniquity, that's a study by itself. But the word mystery there means doctrine, and iniquity means lawlessness. So a doctrine that teaches lawlessness, yet claims to be of Christ, was already working in the church to bring about the Antichrist. Yes, my dear people. Now, in John's time, the time of the Apostle John, when he wrote his epistle, the first epistle of John, this was in the 80s after Christ's birth. And in John's time, he also identified the spirit or experience of Antichrist already working in many false prophets. Yes, my dear people. He already identified the spirit of Antichrist working in many false prophets. Now, what does this mean? It means the Antichrist will come through false prophets. False prophets will develop into the Antichrist. But he already saw that spirit or that experience of the Antichrist working in false prophets. In 1 John chapter 4, verse 1 to verse 3, this is what we are told. I quote, "Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits whether they are of God, because many false prophets are gone out into the world. Hereby know ye the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesseth that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is of God. And every spirit that confesseth not that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is not of God. And this is that spirit of Antichrist, whereof you have heard that it should come. And even now, it is already in the world." End of quote. Did you see that, my dear people? So the Antichrist was to come, we are told, in John's time. And John tells us already it was in the world in his time. Yes, my dear people. So the point is this, is that the Antichrist was to come, but the Antichrist was already existing in John's time. Now, to know exactly when, or to know when the Antichrist was to come, or its time, we are told of 4 great empires, a lion, a bear, a leopard, and a 4th nondescript beast with 10 horns. And these, in Daniel, tells us that these powers were to come and the Antichrist would rise among them, so that we will know exactly when the Antichrist would rise. If we could identify the 4 powers and the 10 horns that comes out of the 4th power, then we could identify the Antichrist rising among them and get a little idea of when it comes. In Daniel chapter 7, verse 1 to verse 7 we read, I quote, "In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed, and he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my visions by night, and behold, the 4 winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea. And 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse or different one from the other. The first beast was like a lion, and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the beasts thereof were plucked up, and was lifted up from the earth, and made to stand upon her feet as a man, and a man's heart was given unto it." Now we know, my dear people, this is Babylon. The lion here represents Babylon. Then we go on, verse 5. "And another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise, and devour much flesh." This second beast here, my dear people, we know to be Medo-Persia. Medo-Persia that rose after Babylon, and it raised up itself from one side, the Medes rising up first, and then the Persians. And the 3 ribs in its mouth are the 3 major empires or countries that Persia had to destroy to rise as a world power. And you know, one of the ribs is Babylon, which went before it. We also know it had to destroy a country named Lydia in Turkey, and then it had to destroy Egypt. These 3 countries had to be conquered by the Medes and Persians to rise. So the second beast here is the Medes and the Persians. We go now to verse 4. "And after this I beheld, and know another, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. And the beast also had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it." Now, this fourth beast we know is to be the Grecian Empire that rose after the Persian Empire. And we know that, the four heads of this beast is the four different basic empires that the Grecian Empire of Alexander the Great disintegrated into after he died. And so we have the third beast being the Grecian Empire. And then we come now to verse 7, it tells us, And after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth, and it devour and break in pieces, and stamp the residue with the feet of it. And it was different from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. Now, this fourth beast we know is none other than the Roman Empire that took over from the Grecian Empire. Yes, my dear people. The Grecian Empire disintegrated into 4 different empires, and then afterwards it further disintegrated into 2. And as a result of that, when Rome rose, Rome took over those 2 portions. So we have here Rome itself being the 4th empire, but we're told it had 10 horns. In Daniel 7:17 it says, These great beasts, which are 4 kings which shall arise out of the earth. And we know that those 4 kings now are none other than Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, and then Rome. And we're told the 10 horns that shall arise out of the 4th beast, we're told that those 10 horns are the 10 barbarian nations of Western Europe that arose out of the Western Roman Empire when it was disintegrating. Now listen to me very carefully, my dear people. There were 10 barbarian nations, basically, that arose out of the Western Roman Empire when it was disintegrating. By the year 476 after Christ's birth, listen to the time, 476 ACB, after Christ's birth, the Western Roman Empire was completely conquered by the barbarian tribes. In Daniel chapter 7, verse 19, verse 20, and verse 24, this is what we are told. I quote, verse 19. Then I would know the truth of the 4th beast, which was diverse from all the others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, and his nails of brass, which devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet. Right? Did you see that, my dear people? That 4th beast, we know, was Rome. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up before them, before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth and spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. Did you get that? So in verse 20 we are told of the 10 horns, and then another horn which rose up among them. That other horn is what is written in verse 8 of Daniel. Let's read verse 8. It says, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. Now we know those great things are blasphemy against God. But we see very carefully here the 10 horns and another small horn with eyes as a man and speaking great blasphemy rises up. Yes, my dear people. In verse 24 furthermore, we are told, I quote, And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall arise after them, and he shall be different from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. So get this clear. Out of the Western Roman Empire, 10 European or barbarian nations arises by 476 after Christ's birth. But among these 10 horns, another one rises, and this one have eyes like a man, speaking great things against the Most High. That one is the Antichrist. In here we are told destroy 3 horns. Yes, my dear people, all religions traditionally identify that one as the Antichrist. Now let's see who are the 10 horns. Now the 10 horns are the 10 barbarian nations that arose out of the Western Roman Empire. We will give you their names, and we will give you the names of the modern counterparts of those same barbarian nations. The first one is the Anglo-Saxons. This one became known as England. The second one is the Franks. This became known as the French. The third is the Visigoths or Western Goths. This became known as Spain from the Spanish. The fourth horn is Suevi. These became known as the Portuguese. The fifth horn is the Alemanni. These became known as Germany, or the Germans. The sixth is the Burgundians. This became known as the Swiss people of Switzerland. Yes, my dear people. The seventh were the Lombards. This became known as the Italians today, Lombards. And we had the eighth were the Vandals. The nine were the Ostrogoths, or the Eastern Goths. And the 10th were the Hurrites. Yes, my dear people. Now, why do we not know of any of those three horns, who they are, the Vandals, the Ostrogoths, and the Hurrites? Because those were the three horns, the three European nations, or barbarian tribes that were destroyed by the rising of the Antichrist horn. Yes, my dear people. Now look at this. Since 476, Rome is completely conquered, the Western Rome, by these 10 barbarian nations. And so, if the Antichrist is to arise to destroy the tree, he must arise all around that time, around 476 and after. Look at how early to the year 2007. Yes, my dear people. Now, if the Vandals conquered North Africa from the Romans, from there we get the word vandalism, because this was a tribe that just used to destroy anything that was in their sight. And then afterwards you had the Ostrogoths and the Hurrites. Both of them were in Italy and Rome. Yes, my dear people. Now the three horns that were destroyed by the Antichrist are the Vandals, the Ostrogoths, the Hurrites. The Vandals in North Africa, the Ostrogoths and the Hurrites in Italy. Thus the Antichrist had to be existing way back from 476 after Christ's birth, when the barbarian nations conquered the Western Roman Empire. And in 533 after Christ's birth, when the final three horns, the Hurrites in Rome, was destroyed. Yes, my dear people. So in other words, the barbarians, three of them, the Vandals, the Ostrogoths and the Hurrites, were destroyed. And by 533, the last one of them, the Hurrites in Rome, the city of Rome itself, was destroyed. Yes, my dear people. In Daniel chapter 7, verse 24 and verse 25, this is what we are told. I quote. It tells us, "And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall arise after them, and he shall be different from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a times, and dividing of times." End of quote. Did you see that? So here God's people will be attacked, destroyed, murdered by this Antichrist, which will arise after he destroys 3 of the horns. Now in history, the Western Roman Empire was attacked by the eastern part of the Roman Empire that remained. It was attacked by Emperor Justinian's army. Justinian sent his general Belisarius to get rid of these barbarians. Why? Of these 10 barbarian nations, my dear people, most of them accepted a type of Christianity that taught Arianism. Arianism taught that Jesus Christ is a God, a lesser form of God, just like the Watchtowers teach today. 7 of these barbarian nations submitted to the Roman Catholic papacy that was in Rome at that time. Yes, my dear people. But the last 3 of these barbarian nations, the Vandals, the Ostrogoths and the Hurrites, threatened to destroy the papacy and overtake it because they wouldn't submit to their kind of teachings. Therefore, the Pope in Rome appealed to the eastern part of the Roman Empire that remained and asked for help to preserve the faith and to recreate the old Roman Empire. And that's how Justinian sent his army to capture those western parts of the Roman Empire that were under the control. And 3 horns were destroyed at the behest of the Pope. They were the Vandals, the Ostrogoths and the Hurrites. This was completed in 533. And from 533 onwards, the Roman Catholic papacy had control given to it by Emperor Justinian over civil law. Yes, my dear people. Now let me explain what this means. In 533, the codes of Justinian were finally drawn up, which dictate what were the laws of the Roman Empire. Part of those laws declared that the papacy, the Roman Catholic Church, was the chief religion and the corrector of all heretics. Yes, my dear people. And that from that time, state power will be used by Rome, the Roman Catholic Church, to correct heretics. From that moment onwards, Christianity fell into the hands of the Roman Catholic Church. And what happened? We're told they were given into his hands until times and divided of times. What does this mean? It means that millions of Christians were persecuted. Yes, my dear people, in the name of the Roman Catholic Church. You studied your history, and you know during the Dark Ages, or during the medieval ages, from about 538 after Christ's birth, millions of Christians were persecuted until the year 1798, when the papacy lost its control over civil law, when it was abolished by the French Revolution attacking the Vatican. Yes, my dear people. And so, for all those years, we had the papacy with us, persecuting Christians, murdering Christians, and during their time, more than 100 million Christians perished. Yes, my dear people. Listen to me carefully. So the Antichrist has been with us since around 533 years after Christ's birth. Yes, my dear people. And in 538, when the final barbarian nation in Rome was destroyed, and the papacy assumed authority from that moment, they have been influencing politics in Europe way down until 1798, when the French Revolution abolished the papacy. Yes, my dear people. And this is your history. Now, in Daniel chapter 7, verse 26 and verse 27 tells us a very important thing. So we see here that the Antichrist has been here since around 533 or 538 ACB after Christ's birth, and lasts down to the time of the second coming of Jesus Christ. Yes, my dear people. Thus the Antichrist is not a man, one person, that arises in the future. For no man could live or have been living for more than 1,500 years. If you take from 538 to 1798, that is more than 1,000. If you take from 538 to 2000, to the year 2007, that is more than 1,500 years. And no man can live that long. Nobody has ever lived that long. So the Antichrist can't be a man. The Antichrist is an institution set up in place of Christ, but it is manned by human beings. So a human being will take over the institution, but a human being represents a position in place of Christ. Yes, my dear people. And this Antichrist system has been with us since 533, or even before that, to get rid of the three horns, or these three barbarian nations. And the Antichrist lasts until the second coming of Jesus Christ. This is what we are told. In Daniel chapter 7, 26 and 27, here is what we are told. I quote, "But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion, to consume it and to destroy it unto the end. And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominion shall serve and obey him." End of quote. What does it mean? It means that the Antichrist exists way down to the end to be destroyed. Yes, my dear people. So think about it. A power existing before 538, before 533, around 476 ACB, the papacy in Rome. And this power, my dear people, have murdered over 100 million Christians between 538 to 1798 ACB after Christ's birth. And this Antichrist lasts with us way down until the end. Yes, my dear people. Until the destruction that it faces at the second coming of Christ. This is what the Bible tells us about the Antichrist. So this idea of the Antichrist as a man coming in the future is not true, is not right. It's a false teaching. It was given to us by a Jesuit named Ribera to draw attention away from the papacy as the Antichrist, which was always identified by the Antichrist, as the Antichrist by the Reformers. This concept became futurism. And this teaching called futurism placed the Antichrist way in the future after the so-called false rapture. So then this is a false teaching. The Antichrist, my dear people, is the Roman Catholic papacy, which has been here with us, and the papacy represents a substitute Christ. Remember the name of the Pope. Vicarius Filii Dei. The word vicarious is the word vicar of the Son of God. Vicar means substitute in Latin, substitute of the Son of God. So, may God add his blessings to you as you remember that the Antichrist has been here with us since before 476 after Christ's birth and will be destroyed in the future at the second coming of Christ. He is not to come in the future. It has been here with us for a long time and will be destroyed at the second coming of Jesus Christ. If you can call us at 625-0446, 625-0446, we will give you further information. And may God bless you until we meet again in Jesus' holy name. Amen.